let's just talk about the chair a little bit. It makes sense to set up 3 views with the chair, the top and the other 2. And so with this extra dimension, you need to make sure that the top is facing the correct direction. How can you tell? If you grab the chair base here, right, which is what I just made by taking my chair bounding box, again, which I've kept on here. The chair bounding box I've also kept on. I put a protection tag, right? You can get to Shift-C protection. That just allows me not to touch it, sort of locks it in place. And moved it up to the base of the chair, using the same technique as the table. And then in the chair bounding box under basic, I turned on X-ray so I can see through it up here. In the chair itself, I made a thin, smushed the bounding box so it was thin and then lined it up on the side here. And then if I grab the object itself and move it back and forth, if I move it towards the front of the chair, it's got to make sure it's going towards the front of the chair in the top view. And so I had to, based on the way I downloaded the picture, I had to rotate the view up here. So if I press Shift-V, you see that my rotation view up here is 180. Again, whenever you bring in the picture, once you get the first one oriented, make sure that the other pictures use the same size here, right? And so I copied that from the first one to make sure that the other 3 are the same, and then I just moved them so that it was as close as I could in that view. Hi, Charlie, how you doing? Good. And so I've got the chair base here. Let's look at how I can do this. And so if I hit E, let's move it back a little bit, try and line this up. And then I want to do the same order. And so I want to extrude these things down before this bar across the middle here will be one of the last things. The bars across the middle on this side will be last. And again, I want to use the Boolean to make sure that everything is symmetrical. And so let's go ahead and do that first. So let's get these cuts here. All right, so if I want to cut here and here, but I want it to be at this angle, I'm going to want a loop cut. And so let's come into polygon KL, and I'm going to want to make sure that this is inset there, so I'm going to cut that. And then over here, this is going to be a little bit more space, so I need a cut here and here, right about there. Cool. And let's also cut from this side, right? And so the thing itself, let's go to KL. Let's look here. In this case, maybe one of those instances where I've got those, you see it's up. Might be better to sort of move the mouse over here and look where it goes in the other one. So this is often necessary. Let's have this one come over here a little bit, maybe right about there, and come in maybe right about there. Cool. And then let's make sure we cut it in half. And so here, there we go. And now, cool, let's set up the symmetry on this one. And so I'm going to grab, get rid of these points on this side. Grab all those and hit delete. And then if I want to use the symmetry object, I got to make sure this is lined up exactly at 0. And so let's go ahead and grab the symmetry. Here it is. I put the chair in the symmetry. Get this weird kind of gap there. Let's turn this. Make sure the symmetry object is at 0, 0, 0. Yeah, that's all good. Turn it off for a second. And make sure that all of these points are at 0, x. So position. Is there some difference in the x size here? No. Okay, that's in the other coordinates. And so here on this value, say 0. There we go. That was pretty close to begin with. Cool. Now it'll be easy to turn off the bounding box for now, so you can see what I'm doing. Cool. All right, so now let's figure out where we need to extrude from, right? And so it's going to be this over here, right? And so let's grab this guy, and got that one correct. And let's go to the D. Anchor point is strange. Why is that so weird? Let's go back here. I think maybe I got... Oh yeah, I selected through the object, right? So this is a mistake everyone makes all the time. Only select visible, because we only want this bottom one. There we go. Now the anchor point's right. See how I noticed that, right? I went to extrude this and the anchor point was over here. I'm like, why is it over there? By default, it should default to the middle of whatever the selection is, right? When you come over to the modeling axis, you can make adjustments here and everything. But yeah, let's extrude this now. So I'll come to this view and hit D, extrude this down. And then over here, I'm just going to hit E to sort of move this over so it lines up, move it down. And we want this to be flat here. And so I'm going to go to this move, and I want to select the whole way through. And so now I'm going to say only visible elements off, so I get both sides of this. And then make sure on Y that we have 0 space. Right, so that gets, and then let's see here. Make sure we didn't smush that. Good. And let's grab this. And get both of these. Move this down. All right, right about there. Cool. And because we're using the symmetry, perfectly symmetrical. Nice. So far, so good. Let's do the other one. All right. And so we need to get the back here. And so this one's going to be a little bit different in that it's not sort of inset. If you look at this, it goes straight up from there. And so let's look at that. Right, if I grab this part here, and again, let's turn off only select visible elements. So you guys understanding this only select visible elements, like how critical that is, whether you want to select the whole way through the object or not? Yeah, that's a big one that gets everybody at the beginning. I mean, you just got, you just forget it's on. Yeah, I wish it was like a bigger box that you could sort of see all the time. So now if I hit D and extrude this up, there we go. And now just E. I can move this to where it needs to be. There we go. Maybe T, bring this in slightly. E, move it over. R, rotate it so it's a little bit at the right angle. That's good. Cool. And so now let's get the bottom side of it over here. All right. And so this one right here. And let's go ahead and grab this. And then, good. Let's go ahead and extrude this around D. Whoops. Right, D and then off of it. There we go. And so this goes down like so. And E, move this over. Right about there. That looks pretty good. Cool. Making sense so far? Cool. Let's bring this in here. And so I'm going to go ahead and grab this and grab this over here. Oh yeah, it's symmetrical, right? So E, let's move this in. It's very close. That's all together. And then we're probably going to move this in a little bit, right? So that we have this shape correct. And so I'm going to turn on the rectangle selection, go to point mode, grab all of these points and make sure that only visible elements is off, so I can just sort of slide this in so I get that sloped shape of the chair intact. Make sense? That's pretty good. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, looking pretty good. All right, let's get the rungs going across, right? And so what tool do I want to use to make these cuts here? Yeah, so we could use either the loop cut or the plane cut, right? What's going to be the difference? The loop cut may not be totally flat to the ground because it's trying to find a loop around the object. If we use the plane cut, the KJ, then when we cut across, if I hold down shift, we know it's going to be flat to the world, right? And so in this case, I'll use that one. Probably not much of a difference. Actually, we're cutting through the whole object here. Let's use loop cut because I don't want to cut both of them the same. We'll go here and let's make it a little bit thicker, like more towards the edge of the here and here, and then here and here. There we go. Cool. And so now, Charlie, what's going to be the object that puts these two things together here? What's going to be the object that allows me to connect this part to this part? I need to build a what? There you go, exactly. And so, and I think these are a little bit inset, okay? Sometimes it's hard, you need to infer some stuff from the blueprints, right? These blueprints are not like 100%. And so, in this case, let's do a couple more cuts here for this. So like right, yeah, we want it to be symmetrical. And so let's do the same thing. I'm going to use a loop cut here. I'm going to hold down shift to make sure it's directly in the middle and then spread these out with that bevel. So MS, come over to this one. Let's say UL for the whole thing. MS to bevel this edge and bring that MS, UL, there we go, MS, there we go. All right, see how that allows it to be perfectly equidistant? There we go. That's nice. And so now I can use those down here. And let's bridge this. And so I believe that's B. Bridge is MB, right? MB. There we go. And go to polygon mode. And let's just select this polygon and this polygon and MB, and we should be able to bridge those two from here to there. Boom. Easy peasy. Cool. Let's get the other parts. So now, same thing here on the top. Right here, we need some more loop cuts. This making sense so far? Questions? Cool. Let's make a loop cut here and here. And then again, we're going to want to inset that a little bit. And then let's make this one here and here. Looks good. Let's come back and do the same thing. And so again, this is going to be a little bit inset. So again, KL, loop cut here, hold down shift so I can get that locked directly. And then hold down control as I switch. That way it gets the same loop, still selected, then MS to bevel that. I don't know why it doesn't like that. Okay, UL, there we go. MS, there we go, that's what I wanted. Just kind of like so. Good. Now, this one, we're not going to be able to bridge because it's the Boolean object, right? And so in this case, we don't want to bridge it. We want to extrude it. So I'm going to hit D and bring that out until it's right at 0. Before I get it totally to 0, I'm going to get rid of this polygon here, so I don't have any problems. So just have an empty end, right? And then I can grab these points and put them at 0. So that needs to be, it needs to be at 0x. Oops. Yeah, this isn't exactly the same. Let's grab this. UL. There we go. E. I don't want to extrude again. I don't want more geometry. I just want to bring it to 0 right there. Cool. Everybody get why I deleted that polygon? So I don't get that one in the middle. You don't want stuff inside your geometry. You don't want those internal polygons. Not only are they a problem for the geometry, but it's also just extruding this. Let's get rid of that again. Delete UL in point mode. E. And then over. There we go. Cool. And make sure in the symmetry object, you know, we have weld points on. I might make this tolerance a little bit bigger, maybe just 1. That way I'm sure it's fusing it all together so that I'm not getting any problems there. So far so good, looking good, right? And so now we need to do the same thing and we can bridge. And so now let's come in here and do this business. From the front over here. There we go. And so we need to cut here and here. Let's go KL. Right here, and here, and here, and here. And we're going to need to go here and here. Let's move these points to where they should be. So I'll grab here. I'm just going to get the center points and move them. There we go. I'm missing a point right here. I can see it not quite get all of them. Turn that off. There we go. There we go. Okay. Let's go ahead and bridge these. That needs to be a little bit inset too. So let's see if we could do that with another loop cut, right? We don't want to bridge straight from here. It needs to be a little bit thinner. Let's go KL. Cool, right? Loop, if you know loop cut is, if it's finding a clean loop around your object, when you hit KL, that's a good sign that everything's going well, right? If it's not, then that's a sign that like your geometry has been compromised and you best, that's why loop cut's such a great tool. I mean, part of it is like diagnostic and part of it's just getting everything going, right? So UL, there we go. And let's go ahead and MS bevel that out to right about maybe there. Cool. And let's join this stuff. And so I'm going to turn the symmetry off for a second. There we go. And go to polygon mode and get this one here. Oops, let's make sure only select visible once it's on. There we go. And down here, grab this one right there. And let's bridge this. MB. From here to there. You gotta make sure it's got the right corner or else it'll twist. That's good. And let's bridge from here to there. And so I'm gonna grab again right here and right here. MB and bridge those two. Nice. Okay. just like before, let's get rid of this internal geometry. Don't want that really under any circumstances. So I'm going to delete that polygon and make sure there's no junk here. That's good. Make sure there's no junk there. That all looks good. Let's turn the symmetry back on. Let's clean up the geometry here. I think we may have some problems. So let's go ahead and grab all this stuff from the front. Cool. I'm going to get these polygons right here and move them over. UL. Let's go to point mode right here. There we go. E. Let's move these over a little bit. And then UL. Grab all that stuff. UL. Grab all that stuff.